This whole trial has been hard. This whole situation has just been completely devastating. What this man,
Yeah.
this man is a true monster. Um, and really, monster gives him justice. He's a straight demon.
On behalf of the police department, please accept this so that way you can begin the healing process and you can always look at it and know that justice was served.
It took a Kern County jury less than 30 minutes to find Jose William Lara guilty in the death of Desiree Thompson. Lara buried Thompson's body in the backyard of a Cal City home he was renting. Jose William Lara, convicted in May of first-degree murder of Desiree Thompson, was in court for sentencing on Friday, June 16, 2023. Judge Michael G. Bush sentenced Lara to 25 years to life in prison for Thompson's disappearance and death in 2012. In a case that had been considered cold until last year, two informants reported that Lara had confessed to unaliving Thompson. This information helped law enforcement obtain a warrant to search Lara's backyard where they found Thompson's body. A forensic investigation determined Lara unalived her. So, Cherie, if you
Mhm.
could tell us whatever you want to talk to us about, I'm not gonna I know it's a lot of gruesome details. You could tell us as much as you want, but just listening to that video, what were you feeling? What were you thinking?
Um, this whole trial has been hard. This whole situation has just been completely devastating. What
Yeah.
this man is a true monster. Um, and really, monster gives him justice. He's a straight demon. Sitting in that courtroom with him, um, looking looking at him, watching his gestures, um, the eyes. There's emptiness. They're black. It's like there's no soul. There's no nothing. He does not care. Um, it was almost like a tea party for him. Um, but as we sat there, um, and I honestly I didn't even know if I was gonna be able to sit in and literally see the evidence. But I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and God gave me strength to sit through that. Um, it does torment me and haunt me a little bit each day, so I do have to pray on that on a daily basis because of what I saw. From the very beginning, I had told you guys that I knew that this man, my daughter did not just get in that car with him, but unfortunately, they weren't able to get, well, they did locate the vehicle, but the vehicle was demolished. He took the vehicle to a dismantler, which I truly believe that had they have been able to get the vehicle, they would have found more evidence because he had to assault her to get her in the vehicle in the first place. Um, in the other reports where it was stated that he told the informants, and this is what they had to go on, um, that he bashed her head into a refrigerator and then stabbed her to death. Well, he did stab her to death, but the damage that was done to her skull was not done by a refrigerator. It was done by a machete.
My God.
This man hit my daughter in the head with this machete, which almost split her skull in half. My daughter suffered. Um, when they showed, so the way the courtroom was set up is that during the trial, he is literally facing the jury. The jury's looking at him the whole time. So any evidence that's being shown is being shown on a screen that sits behind him. And he's able to see on a screen sitting there with his attorney. But as they showed the machete when they were showing evidence, This man literally had a smirk on his face and nodding his head in an up and down motion, like, yeah, like he was proud of himself. They, this prosecutor was awesome. She had them break down every flipping detail. Um, Forensics, she made them explain everything down to the smallest detail to prove that there was nobody else but him that could have done this. Um, but what he did was he got her to the house somehow, and at this point, he stabs her to death. He digs the grave in the backyard. He throws her in this grave, and he burns her. And then he covered her up and went on about his business like he had had a cup of coffee and a donut. Like it was nothing. Literally, I'm looking over at the jury, and the jury is over there crying. My family and I are devastated because during the trial, it was my sisters, my two of my sisters, myself, and and my oldest son and his wife. And then when Roe and them were able, they were actually in there. But the boys' trial was going on at the same time. I don't know if Eric, who all knows the whole story about what happened to her that night, and uh, the fact that up until um, the beginning of 2022, we thought that it was her husband that had did something to her, and then found out about this other guy who was completely random. My daughter didn't know him. Her husband didn't know him. And this guy got drunk and told the informants what he had done to a young black woman or biracial woman. I'm sorry. The thought of my daughter suffering through what this man did, he butchered her and then he burned her. In the trial, the whole trial, this man just sat there like it was nothing, like he was innocent. He the DNA, because he cut himself in the process of cutting my daughter, stabbing her. Um, the DNA was all in his house. Unfortunately, some people had bought the home a few years after all of this had happened, and they didn't know that this had happened in their home, let alone did they know that there was a body in their backyard. Um, but they came as witnesses. I wasn't allowed to hear any of the civilian testimonies because the defense wouldn't release me from being um, a witness. I believe it was that he just didn't want me in the courtroom, but I was allowed in on the forensics and the law enforcement and all of those witnesses. I was allowed to be in. So I was able to see all the evidence. I was able to hear the breakdown of all the forensics and how they do this stuff, and um, how they connect all these dots is amazing. Technology is something else, but there was no denying anything where he's concerned, as far as him being the person who committed the crime. Um, and then on sentencing day, well, When they came back with the verdict, it was so it took them 30 minutes. I know when these jurors left out of the courtroom that they already knew what the verdict was going to be, because I mean a blind person could have connected those dots. There was just so much evidence on him. But they left out, and within the hour we were back in the courtroom, because the prosecutor and the attorneys, they had went back to their offices, so we had to wait for them to come back. But the verdict came back in approximately 30 minutes. Um, and they found him guilty. They When we went for sentencing, um, there was a lot of us. Um, a lot of the family, all her children were there. Um, a lot of my family members, my son, my oldest son, Ro, Keish, all of them were there. So we kind of filled the courtroom and just kind of held on to each other for the verdict. And I mean, not for the verdict, but for the sentencing. And this man literally had the audacity to make this statement to his attorney. Well, because he's able to say his piece at his sentencing. Um, he denied anything and everything. He stated that he did not kill anybody and that the evidence didn't prove anything. At which point the judge clearly stated, well, he's clearly in denial, and proceeded to sentence him to 25 to life. And then it was the statement was made that they would appeal. Um, but that came out of the attorney's mouth very reluctantly. It was like you could see he didn't want to, because during the trial, the closing argument was from the defense attorney was almost comical. But I knew that at the same time he didn't have nothing to go on. You know, he's doing his job. He has to put it on somebody. So they were still trying to stick with the fact that my daughter's husband did this, and that his statement was to the effect of that my daughter's husband murdered her and then went to this man who he doesn't know and paid this man to bury her, which makes no sense. You don't know this man. How are you going to ask him to bury a body? Language barrier there. And also, why would this man bury her in the back? Let you pay him to bury her, and he buries her in his backyard. It makes no sense. And another thing is, my daughter's husband didn't have two pennies to rub together, so how the heck is he going to pay anybody to do anything? So I mean, it just really sounded really ridiculous. But he said what he had to say, and we got the verdict that we wanted. We got the outcome that we wanted, and I just found out yesterday that he is in prison as of a couple days ago.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I know that that was very hard to do. Like, you have been going through this for so long, but I mean, the justice is here, and now Desiree is with you, and now the healing starts. And so I'm so proud of you just being able to withstand everything that you have had to all of these years. Like, I mean, I see you as you like the strongest woman I know. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with what you have dealt with, and then still been there for your grandkids in every way. And so I just commend you for that. And I will always remember you and Desiree, and always tell your story to other people. I mean, I love what you said about you'll be there to help other people that's going through similar things, because it's so many people that they give up.
They do.
They give
I
up.
mean, I could have very easily have done the same thing, but I can't. That's not a part of my nature, for one. That's my child. You know, I can't. I couldn't give up on her. I needed answers, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what else to do. Um,
Yep.
and the police department was having a hard time, and I've talked with them because they know I was pissed off at them.
Of course.
You know, um, and I'm still. The police chief told me, he's like, look, he said we will sit down and talk. He said me and you will sit down and talk. Because see, he wasn't police chief when this first happened, but he had been at that police station for quite some time before this happened.
Did he speak English?
Um, he had an interpreter during the whole thing. Um, we know he's been here in our state, in our country for quite some time. So
Mm-hmm.
I think he knows more and understands more than he lets people know.
He using that to his advantage,
I think
probably.
so. I think so.
Yeah, like he don't know what's going on. And
And the whole thing is
okay, go
because
ahead.
you know exactly why you there. You know exactly what you did. So the playing Mr. Innocent.
Yeah, the gig is up.
You sat up there and got drunk. And the thing is okay. The informants at the time was a father and a son. Mind you, the son was 17 years old when he told this horror story to him. 17 years old, and you tell this horror story to a child. I don't understand. And he told them at separate times. It wasn't like they were sitting around the table and he told both of them. He told the father first, and the father never said anything to anybody, and then sometime later told the son what he did. And then the son went to the father, and that's how they found out they both knew the story, and the story didn't change. It was the same story.
Yes.
Oh, you're
You
fine.
said something about you said something about a 17-year-old. Who was that?
No, so okay, so the informants are father and son, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, the son was only 17 years old when this man told him this
Wow.
story.
What?
And so the son went back to the father and told the father, "Hey, look, Jose told me this," and told the father, and the father told his son, he told me the same thing, and it was the same exact story. And so
What?
what I
Okay.
found out about the letter is the letter
Mm-hmm.
that they wrote and I remember I told you there was an anonymous letter in 2012 that,
Yes.
that they sent to the police department, um, telling about what happened to my daughter.
Yes.
Well, come to find out, they didn't take the letter to the police department. They took it to the post office, and all it had on it, supposedly, from what I understand, is anonymous tip.
Wait a minute. What?
Well, the post office is right next door to the police department, but they, I guess, the people didn't open it or something, and they just discarded the letter.
What? Who said that? Like, so the man ended up saying all of that, and who confirmed that the police never got it or anything?
Well, they're stating they never received anything like that, and I thought that was a bunch of bull all along. But when we found out, when they testified, my sister was actually in there, and she said that I guess they had said something to the fact that what was written on the envelope was anonymous tip. It was given to the post office, and the post
Wow.
office, yeah, and the post office and the police department are right next door to each other. Like they're like a driveway apart from each other in Cal City. Well, that
Okay.
evidently the post office probably got disposed of the letter, postage on it. It
Wow.
wasn't addressed
So
properly.
the okay. So with that being said, the other part I want to know is how did the trial happen? Because I thought that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the informant seen Desiree's flyer in the store, and they called again.
No,
Can you
they
tell
saw
us
me
that
on the
part
news.
again?
They saw me
Oh,
on the
they
news.
saw you on the news.
The
Okay.
son, the son saw me on the news. They thought that because they sent that letter, they thought all this time that something was being done about it. And then they saw me on the news with her picture and me talking about it. And the son went to the father and told his dad, "Look, we have to go. We have to go talk to them. We have to tell them." And so
Wow.
he reached out and called the police department and told them that he had a tip he believed that was regarding my daughter. And so he was finally able to get a hold of Detective Brandenburg, and they sat down and talked, and the father came in. And see, because they were worried about being deported. This is why the anonymous part came in. And they were also very scared because this man knew where they lived. They went to church together. They went to soccer games together. So this man was very familiar with the informants, and they were very scared at the thought that, okay, well, if we tell he did this to her, what can he do to us as well? But anyway, yeah, the son has two daughters of his own, you know, and he was like, I couldn't imagine. He couldn't imagine what I've been going through all these years. And so him and his dad went forward, and so I've actually asked the police chief to get a hold of them and see if there's a way that my family and I can meet up with them in a mutual air place where we can thank them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Cherie. Like when I say, because we were just talking about the fact that she never gave up. Imagine she wasn't on the news, y'all. You see what I'm saying? And so another thing, like it takes the usually the mother, the closest person to them, to speak out, to make people feel your pain, to make people want to help. And so wow, for that to be your story, like I mean, I will say like you would be able to help so many people that just think, you know what? What's the purpose of me fighting anymore? It's over. Nobody's going to do anything. God can do it all.
You sure can.
God can do it all, baby. And
Yes,
I
he
am
can.
so happy.
That's what I try to tell people all the time. You know, um, first of all, for me, and I feel like for any mother that loves and cares for her children, quitting is not an option. It's just not an option. Um, you
Period.
know, you can sit up there, and I heard bull crap stories for how long? Well, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't, there's no new tips, there's the, all of this. I've heard it all, and being angry and mad at the police department because I feel like this: if you don't have the resources, if you are not qualified, if your department is not trained for certain things like this, then you need to get the proper people in there. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Get somebody that knows the job.
Exactly. You need to get somebody in there because there should not be that many cases out there in that little bitty town. But yeah, there was 8 cases, and that's ridiculous. There's only a population of 14,000 in that town. There's nothing but desert out there. Nothing but desert. So there shouldn't be that many cases, and it is a privately owned police station or whatnot. But at the end of the day, I knew my daughter's case was going to be a little bit harder, but one of the factors that always made me mad was the fact that in 2015, I tried to get them to go talk to her husband. I found him. They didn't find him. I found him. He was right there under their nose the whole time. And so at that point is when they told me that he was didn't there was no longer a warrant and he was no longer on parole. If they went and knocked on the door, he didn't have to talk to him. So they took that and ran with it and never went and spoke to him. To this day, 11 plus years later, they still have not spoken to her husband. Never once question him about nothing. So we could have probably been on to another suspect back in 2015. But with all that being said, at the end of the day, the way things did happen, I think that this is just how it was supposed to happen. Because when everything first happened with my daughter, um, I literally broke down crying and dropped to my knees and I prayed and I prayed and I asked God to reveal everything to me, to bring my daughter home to me and her children, and to reveal everything. And it took 10 years, but God did it. So this is why I tell people, have faith, give it to God, have faith, trust, and believe that He will give you those answers. But we all have to understand, and we're only human. We get impatient, but God will answer those prayers, and He did. He answered those prayers in one day for me because they found my daughter. They arrested him only a couple hours later, but he was under surveillance the whole time they were exhuming her body from that ground. So they had their eye on him the whole time.
And how far was he from that old residence? How far was
Um,
he?
he was a couple of miles away. He was closer in distance to where my daughter lived than where he buried her.
Really? And
Yes.
I wonder what you meant when you said you got blessed twice in one day, or however you said that. I wonder what you meant. You just cleared that up because he got. I didn't know he got arrested that very same day. Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty
He
amazing.
they had him under surveillance while they were exhuming her body. Yeah, so they had him under surveillance the whole time. And and I think they were waiting for me to leave town because when they were exhuming her body, I was out there. And I think at that point when they were exhuming her from the ground, I think before I got there, they had already done that. I don't think she was even there anymore. Um, because when I got there, Matt was there from AV News Crew, and he had told me that they had already taken a large bag out and left. And I was like, okay, and so I was assuming it was her, but I stayed there for a couple of hours, and then I spoke to the detective and everything. And at that time, police chief Walker was still there. Um, uh, Hightower hadn't taken over as police chief yet, but police chief Walker was like on his last couple of days there anyway. California City to here in Roseman to my sister's house, which is probably about 35, 40 minutes. Um, I was walking in my sister's house and the detective was calling me, asking me if I was with family. And I told him, yeah. And that's when he told me that, yes, they did find remains, had arrested him. The police chief, when the guy was arrested, the police chief, when they had taken the cuffs off, the police chief had asked whose cuffs they were. And the officer had told him, oh, they're mine. And he was like, well, let me have those. He said, I'll buy you a new set. And the officer was like, why? And he says, well, he says, I'm going to give them to her mother. And the officer was like, oh, here. And so he went and he took those handcuffs and he put them in a safe at his residence, his home, and waited until after the sentencing, had a plaque made, and presented me with the plaque. So here's the plaque. I don't know if you guys can see it. Look clear.
I love that they let me single you out right quick. I love that they gave you that. That is so nice. Hold on.
It's kind of glare. I'm trying to get the glare out of it.
That is beautiful. And so, what does it say, Cherie?
So at the bottom, it says in memory of Desiree Thompson, September 23rd, 1981 to January 7th, 2012. Taken too soon, but never forgotten. Justice will always prevail. California City Police Department. Arrested March 26, 2022. Convicted May 18th, 2023.
Beautiful. And I heard you say this means everything to me.
This means
She said
everything.
that. That is beautiful. Look, this is what it is. She sent me a picture of it, and that is what it looks like right there, and that's the evil monster.
Look at those
You
eyes.
know,
How dark his eyes.
yeah. Oh my God. Listen, this picture that you sent me was my first time laying eyes on him because I think in court his back was turned. And
Yep.
so when I seen this, I was like, oh my God, those eyes is so evil. And
Yep.
he actually was sitting there like he had an attitude.
Yep.
Like, what?
Yep.
Like he had something better to do. Like
And
you
that's
are
actually
exactly where you need to be.
the trial was actually the first. I mean, not the trial. The sentencing was actually the first day, the first time that we ever seen his full face. Because
Really?
during the trial, we had to go in and wear masks. Everybody had to wear a
Wow.
mask. And now my that's the first time I did. My sister and them seen it because when there was a couple of times he had to show his face to witnesses for them to identify him in court. But I wasn't allowed in the courtroom at that particular time. And so there was a point in time where they were doing the trial and I'm having to sit out in the lobby and wait because I can't be around the jurors, I can't be around the other witnesses and all this kind of stuff. And I literally was getting pissed off.
Yeah, because I heard you say that the neighbors, I mean, the people that bought the house, you didn't get to hear their testimony.
No.
That's not, I mean,
And
and
so
and she said she really felt like they just didn't want her to hear it. So is
I
that the
feel
part,
like
one of the
and
part?
it well it wasn't on the prosecutor's side, it was on the defense side. He was the one that didn't release me.
What?
So yeah, so the the victim's advocate had came to check on me and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." I said, "I'm agitated as hell," to put it
Because
nicely.
you wanted to be there for everything, right?
Right. I said, "That's my daughter in there. I should be able to be in there." I said, "Now I'm getting pissed the hell off because I should be able to be in there and hear everything that's being said about mine. I've waited over
Exactly.
10
Oh
years.
my God. I'm so
I've waited
mad
over
hearing you
10.
say this.
Yeah. I said, I've
Okay.
waited over 10 years for this. I should be able to hear everything that's being said in there." And so I said, but I know because I had already done my part. I could have been cleared, but the defense attorney wouldn't release me. So,
Mm-mm-mm.
and sitting in there watching watch when I was able to be in there, watching the faces of the jury as they're looking at this evidence and listening to this testimonies, they were devastated. I think
Were
that
they
I think
really?
yes, I think they're. I think every one of them probably need freaking counseling. Um, it
Oh,
was. I mean,
Jesus.
let me tell you, the evidence was horrible.
I was
When
so
they
upset I couldn't listen in like I wanted to. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
when
Cherie.
when they showed my daughter's skull, I almost lost it.
Mm. Wow.
Um,
Did they
I
show it on a picture?
yes,
Wow.
because it was part of the evidence of what he did. What he did to
Yes.
her did not happen from that freaking refrigerator. It happened from the machete.
Mm.
It happened from the machete. He took that machete and hit my daughter in the head and split her skull almost in two.
My God.
So
So
it kills me
he
to
didn't
know.
admit to anything.
No,
since he's denying
he
everything.
denied everything.
So we
And
don't know about this party crap. Was that a
oh,
made up part?
no, that was it was a party. It was so they had neighbors from that night come in and testify about this so-called party because there was police reports about the loud music. The neighbors were complaining about the music. So that wasn't a made-up party either. And
There was a
I
part of the.
remember, and everything came together. The testimonies when I found out where this party was.
What is it doing when it
So
does that?
this street kept popping in my head this whole time, and I don't know why. I don't know if it was God trying to tell me, it was my daughter trying to tell me, but this street name kept popping in my head, and I was like, why do I keep thinking of this particular street? And the street was called Nerelia, and come to find out, that's where the freaking party was.
Are you kidding me?
No, no,
What?
no.
Wait a
That
minute. When did this street pop up in your head?
it's been there for a while. It's like I kept telling myself, why does this street keep popping in my head? Because I'm trying to piece together where the hell he was able to get my daughter. First of all, because where his house is in Nerelia, you're still a couple miles away.
I
Where Nerelia
what the?
is, where Nerelia is probably a couple miles from my daughter's house in the opposite direction from his house. So this is why I don't know why, but that street just kept popping in my head all this time. And come to find out when my sisters told me, look, the party was on Nerelia, and then when we went back in the court and the prosecutor was going over everything, in the closing argument and this and that, and everything was being discussed about that party that night. Um, that's where it was at. It was right off of that freaking street.
Oh my God. And so that party street was close to your daughter's house also?
It was closer to my daughter's house than his house.
Because okay, I listened then a couple parts because the girl whose house she was at, where she called you from, I heard her, and she couldn't really remember too much of anything. But I heard her testimony, and then I don't know which was it, the father or the son. They said it was a part of that letter that was made up, and I cannot remember what part they were saying. They said it was a part of it. It was a part of that letter that was made up.
By him?
And then, yeah, it was something that they said. Cause oh my God, it was. I know that it was
Well, he,
something in that
he had to
letter
make
was
up part of
made
it.
up.
Yeah, he had to make up
Yeah.
part of it because at the end of the day, he's trying not to. Because, like, okay, so at one point, it was said that he moved her body, but he never moved her body. But he probably told them that he moved her body because at the end of the day, she was still there in the backyard. And maybe he got sober and realized, oh, shit, I told too much. And now I need to, you
Try to
know,
scale it back.
right.
Wow, man.
But
I Jesus.
they drew up a little map of his house and explained everything that he told them to the detectives. This is where he said he murdered her. This is where he said he buried her. They took them and showed them.
Wow, they knew. They knew. I'm talking about they knew a lot.
They knew because they had went over to visit. Just sickening. Just sickening.
So you said they went to visit him, and he showed them the spot that he put her
Yeah.
in.
Yep. And
Goodness gracious.
when the new people bought the property, they actually the same carpet that was in there when she was murdered was still in there. They had the carpet
Oh
taken
my
out.
God.
They had the carpet taken out when they bought the house.
They
Um,
did, but it was still there.
but the DNA is still there. You
Oh,
can't get
you
rid of
mean
that.
under? Yeah, the
Yeah.
crevices of the
So they had to
woodwork is
tear up
what you
the
say.
yeah, they had to tear up the floor to the concrete and get to the concrete, and that's where they found the DNA. and on the walls.
Mm. Wow. We're not gonna stop talking about Desiree because I mean, number one, two, you are an example. You are a big example and a role model to help a lot of. I know this ain't what you wanted. You didn't sign up for this, but I mean, you actually have a lot of strength. And like you said, with strength comes pain. And I mean, you are gonna be able to help a lot of people without effortlessly because this has been your life for this long. And I'm just so
11
happy that
plus
you were
years.
able to get closure for Desi. I was so happy to see the you and the kids or the kids playing in the pool and all of that stuff, smiles on their face. And I just do you feel like I mean in closing, um has it been any type of noticeable relief for her children?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot for all of us.
Mhm.
I personally felt like a ton had been lifted off of me, but then it was like I'm tired. I'm like physically, mentally drained.
Drain. Yeah.
So it's like I'm trying to every little chance I get, try to rest up as much as I can. That's why I haven't started my podcast yet either, because I'm just really trying to because I can't be of any help to anybody else if I'm not 100% myself. This has just been a lot. It's been a lot
Yeah.
for all of us, and so it's like now it's time to take a deep breath, rejuvenate, and then
And regroup.
and regroup. And
Yeah.
figure out where does life go from here. You
Yes.
know, I know my daughter's here with me. Um, Not the way I want her to be, um,
Mhm.
but for whatever reasons this happened, I know I'm gonna see her again in the next life. But it's just hard to go day by day and not have her here, and to see her
Yeah.
kids not have their mom. You know, so
Mhm. Of
it's
course.
just try to heal the best way we can and move forward. But I know my daughter wouldn't want us to be sitting up here suffering and things like that. She would move on. She would want us to help other people. So I try to even get the kids, you know, just help somebody.
Y- You
We've
said
been
she
through
would
this
want
stuff.
you what? It kind of went out at that
She
last part you said.
she would want to
Mhm.
see us happy, and she would want to see us helping other people.
Yeah.
You know, um,
Yep.
she would want us to tell her story. Somebody else, we can help somebody else get through something like this.
Yeah.
You know, and hopefully, there may be, it's in the works. I don't know how far it's going to go. It depends on what information they're able to collect. But there's
Mhm.
a possibility that her story will be on the ID channel.
Are you
We
going
had,
to be a part of it?
yeah, they contacted me.
Okay.
Yeah, they contacted
Good.
me and asked, and then I've already sent them uh, the information that they had asked for the prosecutor and the detective and all that. And so I'm just
Good.
waiting back to hear. She said it depends on how fast they can get the information they need, and then they'll start doing interviews, and then start production or whatever, however they go
Do
about it. But
do you see any type of foundations or anything in her name coming along or um
um,
any plans for anything like that? I know you got the podcast plans, and if you need me to help you with anything, I'm here for you. As far I can do graphics and stuff like that. If you
I have,
if you want me to put a
I
video together for Desi, I'll do that too.
thank you. I have asked talked to her oldest son. I just need to be able to get the kids all in one room and
Mhm.
my oldest son, and then sit down and discuss because we have mentioned something, a foundation, something. We were just trying to get through the trial and everything like that. So
Yeah,
you
you said
know,
something about getting the kids all in one room and doing
yeah,
something.
just trying to get everybody together and just discuss what we think we we could do
The
or
next
want to
move.
do,
Mhm.
to honor her name and to be able to help
Yes.
others that way. Some sort of a something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nonprofit
Yeah.
organization, some kind of foundation or something that we might be able
And
to
I
try
just
to
I
do.
just wanted to say, I mean, you might already know this, but like Jelani Day's mother, she started a foundation for him. And because he was a student, a doctor, he was going for a pathologist. She wanted to help people go to college with that was going to school for the same thing that he went to school for. And so they had their first winner, a young lady that won that scholarship, and they're having a second annual gala coming up here in August.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
that's actually what made me ask you that, because
That's
I see
awesome.
what Miss Carmen is doing, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I know that you would be a great fit for anything like that, because you're activist at this point.
There's so many. When you sit back and think about all the people that are going through this stuff, there's a lot of people going through the same thing I've been going through.